Afternoon, students. We continue with our study of the third and final stanza of the poem Ode to Autumn by John Keats. So let's begin right away. Once again, in this final stanza, the poet begins with a rhetorical question. A direct address to autumn. The speaker addresses autumn as if it were a person. Where are the songs of spring? Where is the music that characterizes spring? For example, where are the birds' songs? Then again, where are they? So I could be an expression of regret. So yes, where are they? Then next line, think not of them, thou hast thy music too. We know the meaning of thy, Old English for you. So don't think, the poet is advising autumn, don't think about the spring and its typical music, for you have your own, thy music, your own music. The poet urges the personified autumn not to think about the songs of spring, but rather to appreciate the present. The music of spring is a distant memory, but that autumn's music is pretty cool too. And so listen to her own music. Maybe the speaker may be assuring autumn, who might be feeling a little tad inadequate compared to her more celebrated counterpart, the spring, that she has her own music and not to think about spring. Then the next line, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, B-A-R-R-E-D, pronounced barred. So, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, the poet now says that that the background for your music is a scene in which beautiful barred clouds, shadowed clouds, or patchy clouds, between which patches of sky can be seen as barred. So with stripes, these clouds appear to be in bloom. Now this is, of course, we can understand it's metaphorically described here. The speaker begins to describe the song of autumn. It's more now here a metaphorical song in that the scene begins with light and images. So these clouds appear to be in bloom like flowers as they light up with the colors of sunset, dying day, the sunset. Here we see that the use of bloom is a direct challenge to whom? Spring. Again to springtime. The day is dying at sunset. But it is not a tragic or an accidental death or a violent death. It's soft and gentle. So the next line says, and touch the stubbles. So, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. So here the poet says the rosy hue, the reddish or the rosy hue, shade, color. What happens to that? From where comes this red hue, rosy hue? It comes from the sun, the sunlight. It touches the fields gently. So soft dying day, it gently touches the stubble plains and the fields that have been harvested. So all that is left is a flat stubble. Stubbles, you can know, the crop leftovers are as the complete. So we can see here that in this in these lines, the poet is talking about the rosy hue. So expressing the beauty of the dusky twilight. So we find the poet is expressing the color of the dusky twilight. The hue is the shade. So the rosy color of the twilight. Then the next line says, then in a wailful choir, the small gnats moan among the silver sallows. Now let's go back to the same line again. The gnats. What is the gnat? Now we know the gnats are small insects that looks like mosquitoes. So the gnats come out by the riverside. So where among the river shallows. The gnats by the riverside seem to be moaning, wailful moan. So that's a cry, wail. Wail is a cry. So wailful moan, moaning for, crying for, wailing for whom? They cry in a humming, so choir, in a humming choir at a funeral. Whose funeral? The death of the dying day. Now see how wonderfully the poet is explaining. The death of whom? The death of the dying day. So it seems to the poet that these gnats are singing a wailful choir on the funeral day of the dying of the day. The day is dying, and so they are singing a wailful. They are wailing as if the daylight had been a favorite grandparent or something. In fact, we all know they are just doing what gnats do. What do they do? Coming out at evening time. The choir sound is the collective buzzing of their tiny little wings. Some people would have a different word for choir. They could say that the sound is nasty, or they could say it's extremely annoying. But gnats especially like to hang over out in wet areas near trees. And here we find them near the river shallows. Shallows here means the shallows, not sallows. We pronounce it S-H-A-L-L-O-W, shallows. That is the waters, near the waters, the river waters. It's near the shallows. And then it says, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. So how are they borne? Now these gnats are borne by whom? Borne means carried. Carried by whom? Aloft or sinking as the light wind. Carried by the light wind. So let's try to understand it. Borne is carried. Aloft means goes up. Up, or then sinking means coming down. As the light wind lives and dies. So it appears to be coordinated with the light wind. When the light wind gets stronger and goes up, lifted up by the wind, so the gnats also go up. So when the wind gets weaker, the gnats go down. So we can see Keats is having a lot of fun with movements and directions in this poem. Now the speaker continues to paint the sunset as a life or death struggle for everyone. The sound of the gnats contribute to the symphony of autumn. So it's the music of autumn. The sound of the gnats are contributing to the symphony of autumn. Let's read the next line. And full-grown lambs. What kind of lambs? Full-grown lambs. Loud bleat from hilly bone. Now the poet includes more animal sounds at the conclusion of the poem. But these sounds are more of a conventional variety than the buzzing of gnats. Now, who are the ones who have come in the picture? Lambs. Lambs are bleating near the where? From hilly bone. Bone means stream, from small streams that flow down the hill. So that flows down a hill. The lambs are full grown lambs. Remember, so they can be called sheep, isn't it? So they are the full grown lambs, therefore sheep. Then comes the hedge. Next is the hedge, turn of the hedge cricket sings. Okay, let's see. Now, hedge cricket. Cricket, what is a cricket? Is an insect that makes a chirpy sound, isn't it? And that could be also sometimes very annoying. But here we have the hedge cricket. Now, let us see what feelings the poet has about the hedge cricket. The hedge cricket sings. Now, the crickets that live in the hedges. Hedges are small bushes. Now it's their turn to come out at dusk. The crickets are singing. How do they sing? By rubbing their wings together, which is known as chirping. So the crickets are chirping. And now it's the turn of someone else. And now with treble soft, the redbreast whistles. So it's the turn of the redbreast. What is the redbreast? The redbreast is a swallow. Now, with the redbreast sings in treble. The song is in treble. Treble means a high note, but it says soft. softly, although she's singing softly, but it's a high note. The red-breast robin is whistling in an where? It is whistling from a garden croft. So it is whistling from an enclosed garden or a garden croft. Treble, as I told you, is a note which is a musical note which is high. And gathering, now swallows, what picture does the here last at the end of the poem, there is something, a different kind of a picture here. And gathering swallows twitter in the skies. So the last line tells us, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. Swallows are found in every continent, and they are birds that never fly far distances except during their migration period. So it's time for the swallows to come out. Now as the light goes down, the sky is giving the picture of twilight. So what happened? Last but not the least, the swallows have taken to the sky at twilight, and they twitter joyfully as the sun goes down. They gather for their they are gathering for their coming migration and sings from the sky. The poet at the end helps us to, with all these pictures, the poet is helping us to visualize a bunch of images of different birds and beasts and animals that produce a veritable symphony of beauty. So with this, we come to the end of the poem, and I'll be sending you all the questions separately to note down and answer them, the objective questions for you. Still then, until we meet in the next lesson or the class, it's time for me to say bye-bye. But stay at home, stay safe, and keep studying.